round of the DSL Welding Services Sprintcar 360 Sprint Car Series. This week live from Williams Grove Speedway. We're gonna have an exciting race here for you this week. Williams Grove, a very unique track as we see there on screen, very long straight, characterized by its tight radius bends and unique to America, rather low banking. So this track tends to see the cars reach their full top speed down the back straight, followed by heavy braking zones and very tight corners. So we are going to expect plenty of action as we get the cars going into the corners. We jump into the end of qualifying here. We're right on board with Justin Wright. At the moment he is currently the first one on track, so he does open up the qualifying with a he did an 18.2. Clayton Davies jumps up onto the chart now with a 17.85. Early pole sitter Braden Miller with an identical lap time, in fact, with a 17.85 also. Clayton Davies improves that with an 18.08, and then as we say that, Blake Walsh, last week's winner, comes in with a 17.76. Expect to see great results from Blake Walsh again. Brad O'Brien, a new name on the list for me at least, in the 17.7s as well. Brett Hobbs, regular attender, 17.8. Brad O'Brien, there seems to be a new name on the list. It's always good to have new drivers. Braden Miller there on screen, good to have him back in as well. Looking down the list, Pete Jones seems to be a new name. Blaine Densley puts himself on the timing chart early in 5th. Brad O'Brien steps up into first place with a 17.59. Who else we got in here? Cowie, Michael Lowe, Tony Walsh, Nathan Allen, Tyler Sheep, Nick Ryan, Brett Wheeler. So a few of the usual suspects, a couple of new guys as well, always good to see. We're right on board there with Dylan DeBono from Sydney, another new name, I believe, in the league this week. Just had Toddy in my ear saying Dylan's a regular in some of the other leagues in SRW. Potentially his first time in the sprint car for the SRW series, however. So 2 minutes 30 left, half the qualifying time used. Of course, races have 5 minutes or 3 complete laps, so we're sort of expecting to see most of them be finishing up rather shortly. Brett Wheeler jumps up into second with a 17.7, so at the moment it is Brad O'Brien holding the top qualifying spot with a 17.59. Brad Wheeler 17.73. Blaine Densley the identical lap time, 17.73. Blake Walsh, last week's winner, currently in 4th with a 17.8, and then we have a few in the 17.7s. Braden Miller, Craig Platter, Dylan DeBono, Clayton Davies. Brett Hobbs only managing 9th place with a 17.8. Tyler Sheath there on screen, another one to watch. We've seen some pretty strong results from him over the last few weeks. Just reading some of the chat there from the drivers in the iRacing sim, talking about braking strategies and whatnot, getting around these very tight radius bends. One of the few tracks where you really get to open up a sprint car to full speed, and then it's maximum commitment into the corners. The walls really do sneak up on you quite quick here at Williams Grove. Those tyres on the inside of the corners that you see can also be quite deadly, especially when cars are 2 or 3 wide. So we ride on board still with Tyler Sheath. It seems he's the last one to complete laps. We just have a few seconds left of qualifying, and then we will look to grid up for the heats. We currently have 20 cars in the field, so we're probably going to see 3 heats of 7 or 8 cars, I want to say. And then moving on to the 30-lap feature, of course, at the end. And if I switch that over to results, I can get a better view of how we're doing time-wise. So It's still Brad O'Brien, Brett Wheeler, Blaine Densley, and Blake Walsh. The top 4, they will be pole sitters for the heats. So yes, 3 heats, 2 heats of 7, 1 heat of 6. So we grid up now, run through the grid for race 1, and it will be Brad O'Brien on the pole, followed by Blake Walsh in 2nd, Dylan DeBono in 3rd, Jason Crawford 4th, Nick Ryan in 5th, another one to watch coming through the field, Jason Burke back there in 6th, and Michael Locke rounds out heat 1 in 7th position. I'll be a bit honest with you people, I was a bit late getting in here, so I'm just setting up my screens how I like them.
We're having, yeah, it's going to be a great race tonight, mate.
Yeah, so race control, just going through the drivers now, reconfirming that race starts will be on the green flag. Should the event of a restart be required, the restart will be at the control of the leading car. So we focus there with Brad O'Brien on the pole. 2 to green still as we follow the pace truck around. Certainly one of the, well, it's actually a track that really suits the sprint cars, particularly in the iRacing sim. That little bit of extra downforce, you can really commit to the corners here. I know from personal experience, this track doesn't really like the late mods too much, the late model saloons rather. Just a little bit bigger, less downforce. They sort of tend to suck themselves into the wall, and you can have some pretty spectacular crashes. The downforce that these guys run, that fine line between maximizing straight line speed and commitment into the corners, creates a really nice balance here. These cars can be driven on the edge. For those of you in New Zealand, probably more similar to the New Zealand tracks, in fact, not having any banking, those narrower straights and walls. As heat 1 is underway, and it is the 77 car of Brad O'Brien who leads the field through turn 1 on the inside. On the outside, it looks to be the 56, of... No, this is bloody Blake Walsh with his random number again. The 63 of Blake Walsh down the outside, trying to get that high line to work early. Comes in the 03 car, Dylan DeBono, new into the sprint cars, running in 3rd place in the first heat. Blaine Densley, currently, no, he's not in the field. Sorry, reading the wrong number. Jason Crawford down there in 4th, Jason Burke in 5th. Nick Ryan rounds out the back of the field. That number 3 car there of Dylan DeBono trying to get a move done on last week's winner, Blake Walsh, just not quite being able to stick his nose up inside. He's certainly looking very, very intensely, just unable to get the overlap coming off the corner. Very well defended there by Blake. He's running that higher line. You see them starting to push up. Brad O'Brien up in front still, just running that inside line still a little bit. The rest of the field slowly were making their way up to the cushion there. You see it starting to form as you see the 03 car ride the wall. We saw that this week in the NASCAR all over social media. Probably not the fastest way to do it in a sprint car, however, lost a little bit of time there to Blake Walsh. Opens up that gap for him. We continue to ride on board with the 3 car. He is closing in that gap, but you see now he's pushing a little bit too hard, finding that right rear into the wall. Brad O'Brien sets a 17.7 in the race. That's an incredibly quick time. Couple of laps left here in the first heat as we see Blake Walsh pull a massive slide job. Gets right up close to the tyres, does put a little tap on the outside. Unable to make the gain, but a pretty committed move there from Blake Walsh, who I probably would say would be just about leading the championship with his first last week and second the week before that. Certainly going to be one of the drivers to watch as the season moves on, trying to get that inside line to work for him, trying to find the speed, closing that gap down to Brad O'Brien. Really getting close to those tyres, committing 100% here in the first heat race. It's getting really close to those tyres. We see a few of the cars there. I just watched the 98 car on screen there getting up on 3 wheels coming down the straight, so it goes to show you how hard these guys are pushing it. They do cross the checkered flag. It will be Brad O'Brien followed by Blake. Oh, my screen's just refreshed. Dylan De Bono, the number 3 car, came home in 3rd. So as SDK seems to take a moment between the fast-paced session here in the sprint cars, we have got it all updated now for you. We see the cars start their 2 laps to green. So 2 heats of 7 and a final heat of 6 to determine the final starting positions for our 30-lap feature. And already we've seen some incredibly committed driving from the guys in the first heat. We've seen right up around the wall, we've seen some brilliant dive bombs, or slide jobs rather, getting nice and close to those inside tyres. Look at that 13 car of Pete Jones. We've talked about it in previous weeks. A very nice yellow and black livery there. I might just refresh my trading paints because I think some of them are showing a bit default. That bright green car there, the 56 of Brett Wheeler. Another bright standout car on the grid. The Toyo Sim car there, the 991 of Andrew Cowan. So the pace car slides off, the lights come up and they are green. And it will be the 56 car who slides up the track immediately. Brett Wheeler dominates the position, moving up into the front, and we see a big outside slide from 13, and someone's up in the fence up there. I didn't quite catch the number. I think it was Braden Miller who's towed back into the pit lane. Yep, so that will be, yeah, that'll be his race over. We'll see if we can find a replay for that one perhaps a little bit later on, but the action on track right now, it's the 13 car of Pete Jones and the, who's that behind him there? Pete Jones and the 83 car of Alan having a great battle back there for 4th place. Alan trying to get that inside line to work. We saw it very successfully in the first heat, trying to get that slide job done. Not quite getting the inside nose up, and meanwhile up the front we have the 50 car of Davies trying to make that move on Wheeler as well. So a couple of really good battles here in the second heat. The speed definitely seems to be down low, but they're just not quite getting the drive off the exit. The fast way around the track still seems to be on the high line, getting that drive off the cushion and down the straights. The move is going to need to be made on the inside. I think it's certainly going to be a very committed move, and it's going to require a lot of awareness from both the driver making the pass and the one being passed. Just to give each other enough space. You see the top 4 cars there now all running on the high line, just trying to find that cushion. They've spread out a little bit now, not quite making the gap. They're just trying to find the groove that works for them best. See the 13 car of Pete Jones there tap the wall again. We move to the back of the field there with Tony Walsh in the 16 car chasing down Cowie there in the 991. Back up the front, Brett Wheeler continues to lead this field. Davies running very high there really riding the fence, as is Jones and Owen behind him. All these drivers trying to maximise their lines there, as in the background Tony Walsh has had a bit of a moment. Finds himself off the back of the pack, and you see that car just not quite behaving as well as it should now. It's probably picked up a little bit of damage. And that is the checkered flag for the second heat. Brett Wheeler from Clayton Davies, Pete Jones, Nathan Owen, Andrew Cowie, and Brett Wheeler there doing the NASCAR move. I think we're going to see that a whole lot more often now as a tactic. The wonder no one's done it earlier. Well, I mean, Herbie did it first in the movie, of course, and now everybody thinks they can do it. So, yeah, just hearing there from Toddy, apparently it's been done a few times before, but probably the most notable just a couple of days ago. So, the third heat now lining up. We have Densley. No, we don't. We have Craig Platter on the pole, then Densley, then Wright, then Brett Hobbs. Oh, there we go. Oh no, it is Blair Densley in front. SDK was just having a bit of a moment. Craig Platter starts. Blaine Densley, sorry, I always do that. Blaine Densley on pole. Craig Platter in second, Brett Hobbs in third, Justin Wright in fourth, Luke Johnson in fifth, and rounded out by Tyler Sheath. So there's a few guys here. Excuse me. You guys in this heat that will be looking to make improvements on their starting grid in the feature. Brett Hobbs definitely one to watch, and Tyler Sheath also a very fierce competitor, not afraid to make a move. And we've already seen some pretty good attempts of slide jobs. I think he's definitely going to be one to watch coming from the back row. But it will be Blaine Densley who leads the field on the inside line as the pace truck comes around for the last time. Or is there one more to go? No. Pulling off now. Oh no, we're down the back straight now. Whoops, never mind. Side, Blaine Densley. But again, just as we've seen in the previous two heats, just those moves not quite getting the car up side by side to get the run down the straight. The most drive off the corner is certainly on the cushion. Brett Hobbs has found himself in a nice little bit of space right now, just setting in some consistent laps. Got himself a bit of a gap up to second, and there's a big gap opening up back into fourth. However, that battle pack up the top is insane. Luke Johnson there makes a good move over Tyler Sheath. So we took... Oh, sorry, Tyler Sheath made the move on Johnson there, sorry. Johnson's got it back, so great battle here for the last three positions. And it's Wright and Johnson there along with Tyler Sheath battling side by side, and there's contact been made. And that's the number 8 car, Tyler Sheath, has been spun in the contact. The leaders will be coming up on that, but I think he'll be clear by the time they get there. Yeah, he will. We see Blaine Densley and Craig Platter in the background. I'm pretty sure they'll be clear. They'll run the high line. Sheath will stay low. It's probably not going to run into too much trouble. So again, we see that high line working. They're pushing that cush further and further up, getting right up onto the fence there, just not finding a line to make a serious dive. So probably not the best track for passing right now. Once we get all 20 cars out on track for the feature, I definitely think we're going to see a few more moves. A few guys are going to try and work that bottom line. Craig Platter there really trying to get drive off the end of that corner. However, that is the checkered flag, so it will be Blaine Densley followed by Craig Platter. Brett Hobbs comes home in third, Justin Wright fourth, Luke Johnson fifth, and Tyler Sheath after that spin will bring home the back of the third heat. So I believe we do have a 3-minute warm-up session on track now for any drivers who wish to use it. So the results for Heat 3 pop up on screen there for you. So a few guys have headed out into the practice session. Nick Ryan's going to go out and spin some laps. Jason Burke, his SDK refreshes itself again. Who else is out there at the moment? Michael Loke, Nick Ryan, Tony Walsh, Brett Wheeler, Dylan DeBono. So most of the guys out there spinning a couple of laps. Those guys from the first heat, no doubt, will just be looking to see how the track's progressed and trying to test out the bottom line as well. We see a couple of guys there trying to make some passes during the warm-up session. So a good little bit of practice there just to see how the track's evolved, see where they're comfortable committing to. Blake Walsh seems to be running up that high line, right rear, right on the fence. As is Braden Miller. A couple of guys. Number 2 car there of Braden Miller seems to be putting it down on the inside. 12 car of Jason Crawford running a pretty middle line. 77 car seems to be going low. So yeah, a few different lines, a little bit of contact as well in the warm-up session as we see a big crash down the back straight there. Not quite sure who that was in the background. So Jason Justin Wright moving to the pit lane. So we can't have too much time left here. Still 50 seconds, so a few more laps. A little bit of carnage starting to unfold there as we see Dylan DeBono get caught up in somebody else's spin there. So just a little bit of, letting off some steam before the race starts, seeing how far they can push the limits while the consequences don't really matter too much. But obviously also trying to give each other enough room and respect to practice these passing maneuvers. It's going to be very tricky, I think, in the early stages. Probably going to be relying on a quantity of cars going into the corner, forcing up some mistakes and checkups there. Tyler Sheath there trying to make a couple of moves. Seems to be a common trend there, riding the wall today. Brett Wheeler does it again as the checkered flag comes out. I definitely think we're going to see that in the race too. Seems to be like it's a move these guys have been practicing a little bit. Alrighty, so the field lines up and it will be Brad O'Brien on the pole, Brett Wheeler on the outside in second, Blaine Densley second row in third, Blake Walsh in fourth, Clayton Davies fifth, Craig Platter in sixth. Pete Jones, yeah, I'm just sort of going back. Yeah, I was waiting for the grid. It was a subtle little hint there. Pete Jones in 6th, and 7th Dylan DeBono. Oh, 8th Pete Jones, sorry. 9th Brett Hobbs. Probably a somewhat disappointing starting position for him, no doubt. He'll be looking to be climbing his way up through the field. Jason Crawford in 10th. Nathan Allen 11th. Oh, I've missed 12th now. Oh, where are we? Justin Wright in 12th. In 13th, Jason Burke. Andrew Cowie. 14th, Luke Johnson. 15th, Michael Loke. 16th, Tony Williams. Tyler Sheath. 18th, Nick Ryan. And Braden Miller round out the final row of our 20-car grid. So we ride there with Dylan DeBono, the number 3 car, starting in 7th. We move back up to Brad O'Brien, our pole sitter. The lights come up. The pace truck is coming in this lap as they approach turn 3. So the field sits there in wait Just giving each other a little bit of space. Starting to get a little bit antsy there. Running high. Surprised that Brad hasn't pushed the field up a little bit higher, given that a lot of the traction is up high. The green flag waves, and it's a bit of a delayed start, really. But it will be the 77 car who takes the inside line, and Brad O'Brien looks like he's gonna take the lead coming into turn 2. Big 3 wide action there, bit of a push. They all look to have got through relatively cleanly, 4 wide even coming out the exit of turn 2, sorry. Jump onto Brett Hobbs there, who leads that little train down the inside line. Jason Crawford making a big move around the outside. Plenty of action here in the opening stages, 20 cars gathered in, a couple of guys already putting their tyres into the wall, but so far clean racing from all these guys. We haven't seen any major incidents as of yet. We see, whoa, who was that up in the background getting on the fence and getting a little bit airborne? Blaine Densley, it seems. Potentially a little bit of net code there, but he's found himself in the pit. So that'll be the end of Blaine Densley's night, so that's a big upset for him. A very prominent competitor in this series, as we jump on with Clayton Davies, who's had a pretty good start there. He's found himself in the lead. Brad O'Brien, he's up 4 positions off the start, so a great drive from him so far. Brad O'Brien one down in second. The other big mover so far, Dylan DeBono, who just made the move on Brad O'Brien. He now finds himself in second place. He's also up 5 positions. Brett Hobbs, as we predicted, climbing up through the field. He's now in 5th. He's got Brett Wheeler and Brad O'Brien in front of him now, as we see a couple of cars there make contact with the wall on the exit there of turn 2. Craig Platter, the 69 car, after starting in 6th, finds himself down 1 in 7th. In a little bit of space at the moment. Blake Walsh, the number 63, as the caution's been thrown. I'm not quite sure what the cause of that was. We'll see if we can find the corresponding replay. So the DSL Welding Services replay, bit of contact on the inside. It's just unsettled the car there. No, I don't think that's the replay we're looking for. So Tyler Sheaf has found himself in the pit lane. Yeah, that'll do it. So he's made contact with the wall, and there's been a net code there. So at the moment, Tyler Sheep and Blaine Densley have retired from this race. Pretty similar looking incidents there. Just getting up onto the wall and then kind of net coding off the track. So we jump back to our leader, Clayton Davies. We've completed 5 laps of the 30 so far. Brett Hobbs there made some pretty good moves up the field. Currently finds himself in 5th position. They go too wide. The pace truck, I believe, will be in this lap. Yeah, Brett Hobbs up 4 in 5th. Great drives so far from Clayton Davies and Dylan DeBono, up 4 and 5 positions respectively. Braden Miller finds himself up 11 positions as well, as we go green once more, and Clayton Davies does get the jump straight away, dives down to the inside. The top 4 or 5 guys seem to be working that inside line. A couple of guys there trying to get drive off high. See the lead pack though starting to work that bottom line now. At the high line is getting right up onto the fence. Jason Crawford in the background there hits the tyre, hits the wall. And Pete Jones involved in that as well, I believe. Andrew Cowan just managed to avoid it. So we've got Pete Jones there, and I believe Tony Walsh involved in that incident there, coming off turn 2. Oh, the DSL welding services replay. Oh no, it was the 13 of Pete Jones, just over-rotated a little bit in slick, and he's throwing that car up into the wall as he's bounced off. He has picked up the... No, where is it? Yeah, Tony Walsh has kind of just collected him as he split up on the slick as well. We have another yellow flag now, so something else is... I don't know if that's as a result of the same incident. Yeah, so we have gone yellow there. We've been unable to clear this incident we're watching on replay. Bit of damage there, no doubt, to Pete Jones's car. Bounced off the inside wall there. That probably would have been the worst. Oh, you know, that sandwich on the outside wall would have done a fair bit as well. So Pete Jones will no doubt be, if he does rejoin this race, will be dealing with some steering alignment. And he has rejoined onto the back of the field. Tony Walsh, however, has decided he's going to call it a night. So SDK doesn't really like sprint car cautions, but the field, as it sits right now, Clayton Davies in first, Dylan DeBono second, Brett O'Brien third, Brett Wheeler fourth, Blake Walsh in fifth, Brett Hobbs sixth, Braden Miller 13 positions in seventh place, starting from the back of this grid. Craig Platter, yeah, from a netcode in the heat there. So Craig Platter in 8th, Nick Ryan up 10 positions, also in 9th position. So it'll be 1 to green now as the pace truck makes its way out of turn 2, down the back straight now. So they're gridded up, they're 2 wide, they're ready to go. Will be Clayton Davies to take control of the field as the pace truck rounds turn 3 now. Slows them up just a little bit. Doesn't jump that early as we see contact. The top 2 or 3 guys there, second, third and fourth, come together on the restart. So Dylan DeBono makes contact with Brad O'Brien. Not too serious of a crash, but certainly for the top guys running up the front. So we'll watch on the DSL Welding Services replay exactly what happened. Yeah, you see it there. Just didn't quite have... Yeah, Brad O'Brien didn't quite have the grip on the restart. Coming in through the slick, the car moves up the track, collects the number 3 of Dylan DeBono, and very fortunate there from Brad O'Brien not to get collected by the oncoming cars. So he'll avoid an end-of-line penalty there, given that he's already found himself at the back of the track. Yeah, but it just seems like now Clayton Davies having a bit of a chat to race control. They want to review that start, as it seems iRacing didn't give Clayton control of the field. So potentially a bit of a safety car error there, and that's probably caused the early jump there from Brad O'Brien potentially. So race control has just extended the safety car whilst they quickly review the race start. Like I say, I don't think we'll see any penalty from that, given that Brad has found himself in the back of the field anyway. So race control has extended 3 laps to green. We jump on board with Clayton Davies, who should be running second, is that correct? Yeah. Yeah, right. So Clayton's just having a chat to race control there in the back of my ear. So there's been a bit of a timing glitch, I think, in that they've given Dylan control of the start. However, Clayton was the race leader on the restart. So yeah, not quite sure. Yeah, so Dylan's, yeah, interesting one, really. Because it's also now put Clayton in second place with Dylan being now in first. So, however, Dylan was involved in that incident. Clayton definitely crossed the control line first. So, yeah, not quite sure how race control resurrect that, but they'll go back. Oh, okay, so no, we are going to oh no, we have gone to the restart, but there was chat there from race control before the green flag dropped that De Bono actually made 4 positions under yellow flag conditions. So the race control has thrown in a, yeah, so what's happened. So what's happened here is the race control has gone green and then thrown the yellow manually. So it's my understanding that Dylan De Bono will receive an end-of-line penalty, which he's just been issued for passing under yellow. So that's yeah. So that's a bit of an interesting one there. So, yeah, Dylan's made passes under the yellow flag when the yellow flag was thrown as a result of the contact with Brad. So what's now happened, and I'm just trying to relay to the viewers what race control is saying. So, obviously they've had to go green. Passes have been made. So they're now resetting the grid back to what it was, because obviously any pass that was made after that restart, a lap hadn't been completed, therefore the passes get wound back to the previous completed lap. Hopefully, yeah, so hopefully that makes sense. So race control at the moment are just trying to redress the field into the correct order. As race control just shuts off driver chat there, because they've all got an opinion on where they should be. So, yeah, the race director right now is going back to the previous. yeah. So it's a difficult job for the race director, really. They've been put in a very awkward predicament, right? So they've got to go back to the previous completed lap, and how the grid was. Yeah, right. So what the drivers have been complaining about is that they've got some iRacing black flags, which, for those of you who are familiar with how sprint cars work, if you're in front of the car beside you, or if you're not supposed to be, you'll receive a black flag. So because there was a checkup at the restart, guys have passed before the control line and received black flags. So race control has just wiped all black flags from that restart, or those of which, were unintentional black flags, so to speak. And we will be going green this lap. So the field is now currently rounding the second bend. Or no, they've started the green sequence. So there'll be one more lap to green. They'll grid up 2 wide this time by. And then we will go green, unless they're going to do a single file restart and make a liar of me, which it seems like they might be, given that the field is going quite high up the wall, and that's exactly what they're doing. So Clayton Davies does have control of the field. He launches from up high. They go green once more. Brett Hobbs very vulnerable to the number 2 car of Braden Miller, trying to make a move on the inside a little bit further down the pack, and Blake Walsh capitalizes by going around the outside. So a great move there from Blake Walsh as we see contact. Brett Hobbs and who was that he's stuck up with there on the wall? Not quite sure. Who's he stuck to? So Blake Walsh was who he made contact with there. So again, a bit of a rough restart as we jump into the DSL welding services. No, we're not on replay, we're on live, never mind. So we'll just pull up the welding services replay there. But yeah, pretty straightforward there really. Blake Walsh makes the move up the inside of Brett Hobbs. Oh, a little bit unsettled there from that car in the middle too. That was... Oh, that's a bit hard to see. Who was that? The 70... 60... Oh, so that's Blake Walsh's car, yeah. So yeah, and again, we'd see just in the slick there, just losing the car, over-rotating, puts the right rear into the Nerf bar on the side of Brett Hobbs's car, and that guy up high gets caught up as well. Can't quite see the number from that angle. So that's Blaine Densley, yeah, and the car inside is and Braden Miller, and it looks like Tony Walsh there on the inside as well, that red and black car. So 3 or 4 cars. Right, so Brett Hobbs, Jason Burke, Braden Miller, and Blake Walsh, the 4 cars all involved there. So again, I think that was just one of those ones. The driver's not quite in the rhythm after having done so many laps behind the pace car. We've had, 8 laps completed now, I believe. Let's go to the leader. So yeah, 8 laps completed. So word there from race control, 63 car Blake Walsh was to receive an end of line, but has found himself in the pits as we go green. Once again, Clayton Davies leads the field off. In the 50 car, Brett Wheeler on the outside now, back up into 2nd place where he started from. Looking very aggressive on the restart, trying to work that high line. Trying to make it work. He's running right in the slick at the moment. You see the difference in drive off the corner there. Clayton Davies just absolutely pulling away from him. Brett Wheeler trying to get low now on a better line this time. You see the drive off the corner, the massive difference there. Keeps that gap similar. Clayton this time throwing it high into 3 and 4. Great onboard camera there as we see how close he is to the wall. And the yellow has been thrown again. Car 83 has called in the incident. So the 83 car is called in the incident. We believe it's the number 3 car involved. Yeah, so he's yeah, it's the 77. It's that 77 of Brad O'Brien and Dylan DeBono again coming into contact, and again similar kind of incident too, just getting a bit loose on the slick and moving up the track. So Dylan DeBono will go into the pit lane after that one, obviously going upside down. So yeah, definitely this. Yeah, so the number 3 car there has moved up the track. So I do believe in that instance it's the number 3's. It's the responsibility of the 3 car to be aware of the car to their outside, and they have slid up into the 77 of Brad O'Brien. So it would have been an end of line for the number 3 car of Dylan DeBono. However, he has ended his race. He's in the pit lane. The 77 of Brad O'Brien does continue. Braden Miller finds himself a lap down and all that commotion as well. So there's still quite a bit of grip to be found on the track, but the center slick line does seem to be causing the drivers a little bit of trouble right now. Certainly very easy, it seems, to over-rotate the cars coming in at speed, and we talked about at the top of the broadcast, probably one of the quickest you go flying into a flat corner here. As we go green once again, Clayton Davies to lead the field off, and he's got a good gap off the start there. Brett Wheeler trying to make that slide, and again, contact in the middle of the track, coming out of turn 2, and cars upside down, pretty sloppy restarts there from the guys in the middle, just not giving each other enough space. Looks to be Nick Ryan involved in that one. We'll ride on board, or we'll focus on his car, sorry, as we watch the incident unfold. So the 69 car gets loose, gets up out of the way, so Nick Ryan actually gets a push from the 78, so that will be Justin Wright gives Nick Ryan the spin round, and then as Nick recovers, gets Cowie caught up, and the 77 of Brad O'Brien on his roof, so bit of bad luck there for Brad O'Brien. Seems to be involved in all the incidents at the moment. That will probably be his race over. Yeah, he's moved into the pit lane. So we're down to 13 cars from the 20 that started now. And it's been a pretty rough couple of restarts here from the grid. Brett Hobbs a bit of damage as well. Don't know what happened to him, but he now finds himself running down. Where is Brett Hobbs on the timing screen? He's down in 11th place. So incident there from Brent Hobbs. Oh, so he was put up in it too a little bit. So he's checked up there. What's happened there? Yeah, that looks to have happened a bit earlier because he's carrying wing damage into the restart. So something in the last section of racing there. We go green again. Now live though. So Clayton Davies again working that inside line. Brett Wheeler moves up high, gives themselves a bit of space this time. All the drivers sort of just being conscious of where each other's cars are. 64 of Brett Hobbs making moves up on the inside, gets a couple of passes done. 13 car of Pete Jones gives Nick Ryan just the slightest little taps as he moves on past him. Good little battle there between Nick Ryan and Pete Jones unfolding, but Pete Jones is sticking quite closely to Brett Hobbs as he gets a little bit loose there, does the right thing, moves up the track, and it looks like he's spun it. Oh, he has. Cowie there again, running into somebody else's trouble. We do keep green though. The guys managed to keep it on board. Pete Jones trying to really get that slick line to work for him, but doing quite a good job really to keep the car under control. Cowie there sort of running in between the lines, puts a bit of a slide job up, takes full advantage of Pete Jones getting loose, and I'm not quite sure who that was in the background, but he has made contact with Pete Jones there and spun himself. It was the 9969, so 83, Nathan Allen finds himself spun around as we hear the leaders calling for the yellow flag there. It didn't trigger automatically. So Jason Burke's had a bit of a moment too, so we'll load up the DSL Building Services replay. And we'll see what happened to Jason. Yeah, so he's over-rotated the car, it's gripped up, and it's driven straight into the tyre bundle. So this is the focus on Nathan Allen. We see his involvement, we're right on board there. So again, he's aware of that car on the outside. And yeah, he was trying to drive his line, so he did everything right there. Obviously, he could see that car was on his outside on the entrance to the corner, and Jones there just grips up off the slick, drives right down on him, and Nathan Allen with nowhere to go. Just an unfortunate incident. We'll probably see Jones receive an end-of-line penalty, no doubt, for that one, for failure to control the car, or failure to stick onto a racing line. I do believe Race Control are looking at it. So 18 laps completed. Oh, okay, so no further action on the incident there between Jones and Allen. That's a bit of an interesting call, but obviously Race Control's call is final. They see it as a racing incident. So with 11 laps to run, Clayton Davies continues to lead the field, Brett Wheeler second, Craig Platter in third, Luke Johnson up 11 positions in fourth. As we go green once again, and a few guys instantly move up high. Michael Locke there. Clayton Davies again trying to get that inside line to work. Brett Wheeler stays down with him this time, trying to find the drive. Craig Platter up there in third. Luke Johnson, big mover in the field right now, currently running in fourth. And where's he running? Down the bottom as well. So it seems most of these guys trying to get the bottom to work for them. Jason Crawford slings it up high. And you see there's still plenty of drive to be had off the top there, but if you can get that inside line right, as Luke Johnson just has, plenty of speed to be found as Jason Crawford finds himself in the fence, leaves himself very vulnerable to Nick Ryan behind. Nick not quite able to get it done, Dustin Wright behind him as well. Both of those guys will see that and look to capitalise on that mistake. You see them entering quite late and running in through the slick right now. The track is rubbered up very nicely. Cushion kind of not really there at all. It's just loose marbles up the top now, so they're trying to find grip again down low. You guys trying to run up the top. Brett Wheeler there, fighting for the lead now, closing in on Clayton Davies. Trying to get that inside line to work. You see him up the inside now, but just not quite able to stick the nose. As we've had a yellow flag be called, there's a car in the wall. Looks to be turn 1 and 2. So it is Andrew Cowan. No, it's turns 3 and 4, sorry. So he's eaten up the wall on exit and he's just stuck himself into it. And that's not quite how to do the NASCAR move, Cowie. So he too finds himself now in the pit lane. So yeah, I think it's getting to that stage, eh? From the 20 cars that started, we're now down to 11.
I can jump in any time if you'd like to give your voice a bit of a rest, but this has been some absolute craziness tonight, mate, hasn't it?
Nah, right, we're good. We'll get down a pint of water. We are sweet to go.
Awesome. Watson, there's been some crazy action tonight, mate. Wow,
yeah, plenty of crazy action indeed. It seems like the guys haven't quite been able to get a grasp of the slick there, and perhaps the spatial awareness on the flat track, you can't quite throw the car into the banking here, 'cause obviously it doesn't exist. A bit more forgiving at some of the other tracks.
And do you
With that
think it's
bank,
been because
trying to
there's
get away with it.
much longer straights as well? Do you think that's kind of played into it as well, or?
Well, they are coming in with probably a little bit more speed, and it is more sort of top end speed as opposed to momentum speed. When you're carrying off a bank and you're kind of running down a bank straight, you're carrying momentum, whereas here you're very much acceleration and then stop. So there is that certain element of deceleration, the mechanical grip of the car, the way the downforce interacts with the surface as well. So there's a few other factors that make this track quite tricky, and I think the combination of the slick, the way they're holding the throttle through, could be a number of factors really.
Quite different to what they've been actually racing for this season, though. Hey, with the length of lap as well, like much longer lap, at least 3-4 seconds longer, right?
Yeah, definitely. Williams Grove is one of the longer tracks, and it certainly poses a few extra challenges as we go green once again. We have 7 laps remaining. Clayton Davies leads the field once more. Brett Wheeler just hasn't quite been able to catch him out on the restarts yet. He's certainly showing his intentions to try and get that move done, but just not quite able to get up beside him as we jump on with Luke Johnson briefly there, a little bit further down in the pack. So we ride with Brett Wheeler. Alright, we're just trying to get on top of all the action there. Luke Johnson trying to defend around the outside from Jason Crawford, not able to do so. Luke Johnson gets that move done again, back up into 4th place. However, Jason Crawford sticking right with him, and Nick Ryan right behind as well. So it's a 3-car battle pack there for 4th place right now. 76 of Luke Johnson, the big mover of the night, up 11 positions from the start as we see Jason Crawford go high. Luke Johnson able to defend it. He moves up high, forces Johnson and Nick down low. Great racing there from Nick and Jason, just giving each other enough space as we see the slide job move up now. He gets up beside him. Jason Crawford trying to make that move stick. He is side by side. This will be the one to do it if he does. Luke Johnson trying to defend desperately on the outside, trying to find that drive. Jason Crawford, though, insisting with the move, does slip back in behind. He leaves himself vulnerable to Nick Ryan now, who's switched into the middle of the track, trying to find a little bit of grip up high. Clayton Davies still leaving the field at the front. Brett Wheeler is still right on his bumper, but this is the battle to watch, ladies and gentlemen. As we see Nick Ryan there tap the wall on the exit there. Jason Crawford just tries to stick it up. The last lap has been completed. Clayton Davies will win the race, followed by Brett Wheeler. Craig Platter, Luke Johnson holds on there in that amazing battle for 4th place. Jason Crawford comes home 5th. Nick Ryan 6th. Justin Wright 7th. Brett Hobbs 8th. Nathan Allen 9th. Michael Locke 10th. And Pete Jones, the last of the classified drivers, coming home in 11th position. Oh. So 20 cars started here at Williams Grove. The results up on screen there, as you can see. Clayton Davies, Brett Wheeler, Craig Platter, our top 3 today, as they make their way into the green room following some pit lane donuts. 9 cars failed to finish the race there. You see them down the bottom: Cowie, Jason Burke, Brad O'Brien, Dylan DeBono, Braden Miller, Blake Walsh, Tony Walsh, Tyler Sheaf and Blaine Densley. Quite a few series contenders among the DNFs tonight. Certainly been an interesting round. A bit more action in regards to safety cars than what we've seen, especially compared to last week, which was pretty clean racing, really. But, yep, if you've got a driver ready for me. Craig, how are we? Third place tonight, mate.
Good. Boys, yourself?
Yeah, no, not too bad. Certainly an exciting race there. A lot of series contenders found themselves in some misfortune. What was your secret to sticking up the top tonight?
Just keeping it straight and staying out of everyone's way. It's was the best way to get around. So I knew I had nothing on the top. I would have gone straight over the fence. So I thought we'll just keep it on the bottom and roll around and hopefully avoid all the crashes, which we did.
Yeah, well, you sort of answered the next question I was going to ask you. Is sort of, the track seemed to have a few different lines, and where were you? So you sort of seemed that the bottom was working for you.
Yeah, well, I can never run the top here. I struggle big time at this track normally, and I found a line sort of just above where those guys were running, where I was comfortable, and I just stayed there as long as I could, and I was sort of just keeping to myself. I had a fair gap in front and a fair gap behind, so we were just doing laps and trying not to mess things up.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny you say that. This is sort of one of my bogey tracks as well. I struggle to run high up here. It's quite unique in the sim. I mentioned a couple of times. It doesn't really have the banking. You get so used to running the banking on the other tracks, and this one poses a real challenge.
Yeah, that's right. For me, if I try and run the top, I just get sucked straight into the wall and over we go, and that's all over. So early on, it's not so bad, but once the track starts slicking off, I just cannot stay there. So I don't try to.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Hey, look, any sponsors, people you need to shout out to tonight, mate?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll shout out to all the boys at LJR, Mills Motorsport, Team 10, Cabworks Kitchens, Cabcoat, Portland Mechanical Services, South Coast Auto Services, Worth Australia. And just all the boys for putting it on yourselves and for streaming as well. So thank you.
Not a problem, mate. Congratulations on third place here at Williams Grove.
Thank you.
Alrighty, we will now pull in second place. Alright, Toddy's fallen asleep. Oh, there we go. Brett, how are we, mate?
How about yourself, boys?
Not too bad. How did you find that one, mate?
Yeah, it was good. First league race I've done in probably well over a year, and probably the 6th or 7th time I've hit the track this year. So it's always good to come out and to run second. It's probably one of my favourite tracks in 360s. I figured I'd come out and give it a go, and we ended up second.
Yeah, well, it's definitely good to see some new drivers on the field. A lot of the series contenders thus far have found themselves finishing in the pit lane, so it's sort of given yourself a good opportunity to make some positions there. You sort of started second, you finished second, you moved up and down a little bit. Sort of, how was the race?
Yeah, well, the start we sort of got moved out of the way by certain drivers being banned from everywhere possible. But we sort of didn't let that get under our skin. We just sort of kept running our race, and we knew the bottom was still going to be decent here. Like I said, I've done quite a few laps around here on the bottom, so I know how to drive it, and we're able to sort of work our way through the field and come back up to second. Probably a little quicker than Clayton there in probably the last sort of 3 or 4 laps, but time just ran out, and he knew how to protect the bottom in 3 and 4, and I knew that was going to be the case on the last lap, so I just sort of had to throw it up on the top and tried to let her eat. I thought about doing Ross Chastain 2.0, but I thought I'll try and keep it nice and straight, and to come over the podium. It's it's an overall good night.
We're just watching a replay of you running around the fence there as well, but certainly on the restarts it seemed like Clayton had them pretty well down. You were sort of right up inside him, but just not quite able to get side by side.
Yeah, it's always tough starting on the outside. To try and get to try and time these restarts. You've basically got to be half a car length to a full car length in front of the leader, and obviously that's not how we want to win a race. We want to win a race purely by passing him, not under yellow and on a restart. So it's pretty hard to try and time those starts. He always changes it up, but we just sort of had to be on our A game. But yeah, there's a couple of times where I thought I could have probably annihilated him in turn number 1 and 2, and again, I don't want to take out one of the top drivers we have on the sim.
Definitely. We're just watching now some of the attempts of passings that you made, and a lot of racing room and respect given from you and him as well.
Yeah, I've raced Clayton a long time. We've both raced at the peak of iRacing in the World Championships in Sprintcars. So it's kind of a good. I want to be. I'm going to race people how I want to be raced, and that's clean. Not everyone's perfect all the time, but things do happen on the racetrack. But you sort of you get over the kiddie drama. And like I said, I've spent probably maybe 3 races, 2-3 races since probably March this year. And like I said, it's nice to come back here and to run second to Clayton. It just goes to show we haven't really lost any speed.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Good mindset to have coming into these sims as well, eh? Any sponsors you need to thank tonight, mate?
First off, you guys at SRW Sim Racing World, you do a phenomenal job, not only tonight, but of course throughout the week with all the other stuff that that goes on behind the scenes. I know what it takes to get these done, night in and night out. All the sponsors that help out with Sim Racing World as a general, not just sort of people that do the sprint cars, all the asphalt stuff as well and all the oval stuff. So it's always much appreciated to get the support from outside the sim world to support sim racing. Nick Linnett Racing Association, Speed Shop 51, Clayton Tilly, Momentum Sim Sports, all the boys back at LJR, Luke Johnson Racing, Platsy, Johnson, J-Dub, Nick, we're all here tonight having a bit of fun, and I think we come away with 3 out of the top 5 spots, or even 4 out of the top 5.
Yeah, Luke Johnson there in 4th, Jason Crawford 5th, Nick Ryan 6th, Justin Wright 7th.
Oh, there you go. We had 5 in the top 7 then. That's not a bad run.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely a good result for you boys. And we'll see you again next week, no doubt.
We'll see. We're only going to sort of do a few selected shows, and this was one of the ones that I wanted to come out. I figured I'd have a good chance, but you know what? It is what it is, and look, we'll just sort of take week by week, and who knows? You probably see me back once or twice by the end of the season.
Rightio. Well, we'll look forward to that. Congratulations on 2nd place tonight, mate.
Cheers, boys. Thank you. Have a good one.
Cheers. Catch you later. Alrighty, and we'll now bring in Clayton Davies. Clayton, mate, talk us through the race.
She was a bit of a hard one towards the end there. I tapped the wall a couple of times on the inside of 1 and 2, and I think I knocked my front end out a little bit, and she was just a bit limping towards the end. But I felt pretty confident towards the start, like in the first half of the race, that we had it figured out, and we could kind of drive away, and for the most part, and those restarts kind of brought the track back to us, and just a few mistakes, and there was a couple of times there I thought where Brett might have been able to get a nose under me. I was just lucky enough where I might have had that exit speed just to cover myself, but managed to get the win.
Yeah, talk us through that particular restart where Brad and Dylan made a bit of contact, and it seemed like there was a bit of a timing glitch potentially. What happened there?
It's iRacing is as far as I know is onto the fact that Williams Grove has still got a little bit of a timing glitch, and to where if the whole field doesn't cover the line or go over the line before there's a yellow, it gets confused and people get given spots and stuff gets jumbled around, and unfortunately when the contact between Dylan and Brad, it kind of screwed up the timing, and we're glad that race control was able to clean up. There's not really much people can do about that kind of thing, but I'm glad that they saw the sense in it and made the right call.
Yeah, no, right. I was trying to sort of eavesdrop on the race director chat whilst commentating, and I sort of thought that's what was happening. So good to get that clarification. And you mentioned the restarts there a couple of times, and Brett was certainly trying to get that inside line working on the restarts, and you sort of seemed to win the race from the restarts. Or was there any sort of tactics in those, or just
I know
foot down and see how it goes?
I knew I had to get a bit of a buffer between me and him, especially when I tapped my front end the first time. I noticed that the car changed a little bit to something that I was probably a little bit uncomfortable with, and he was able to keep his car nice and straight, and I was able to make the corners clean and make some ground up. And I noticed that every time I'd have to push and make sure I get a good restart just to give myself a little bit of buffer to try and get myself into a rhythm and try and find my line. And he'd reel me in a couple of laps and be all over me, and then I'd probably lose my focus a little bit and make a few more mistakes and tap the wall again. And just I thought I figured out something towards the end, but it was one lap it could work, one lap it wouldn't. But it's always good when you race against guys like Brett. Brett's beat is one of the originals on dirt oval on the game, and he's got that respect that's built over the long time. You can have a good race with him, that there's not going to be that last last lap pass where they're going to move you or slide you and hit you. It's, you know what you get with Brett. You're going to get a fair race. Like he won't race you easy. He'll race you hard and make sure you earn your win. So we feel like we earned this win, and just to have a good race with Brett. We haven't seen him in a while. Yeah, good to have him back.
Yeah, definitely. He said the exact same thing about you too, mate. The level of respect between you guys is something to something that you don't see very often these days in the sim racing community. So it's always good when you do see, you know, a genuine on-track respect and level of competitiveness.
Yeah, I feel a lot of like it's good while we're in a fixed race. Like it kind of brings a lot of things out of the picture, but like the days, like there's a lot of kids up here that didn't really have to go through the stages of learning on harder sets and build that racecraft, and it's just more slide or die in some of the other races that we've been in, especially in the officials. It's slide or die, and it's good to have like a hard fought battle in a league race with guys you know who have earned the time in the car, know how to move the car without really causing any incidents, and you can run wheel to wheel with for 30 laps.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you on that one, mate. Hey, look, any sponsors you got to thank tonight?
I'd like to thank all the boys in Discord. They're always helping supporting me, whether it's throughout league races or in the Pro World Championship and Qualifier Series. Partner-wise, I'd like to thank Western Machine Shop, Hobbs Trench and Boring, 27 Designs. Blaine's done pretty much a new wrap for me nearly every week. It's crazy how he can put it out every week. Alex Bergeron over at ABR Setup Shop for helping me with everything lately, especially with the Pro Qualifier Series. He's kept me up front and kept me competitive every week. You guys for putting on the broadcasting league. We're starting to get fewer and fewer broadcast leagues, and it sucks because it's fun to go back and watch our races after, like maybe when we're at work or we're bored. But yeah, no, thanks for putting it on.
Not a problem, mate. And we're going to see you again, no doubt, throughout the rest of the series.
I'd hope to be there. I'll have to see how my schedule goes with like races and obviously real life, just if I can make it or not.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Anyway, congratulations on first place tonight here at Williams Grove.
Thanks, buddy.
Cheers, catch you later. So that concludes our broadcast coverage for, what are we, round 5 now of it? Of the DSL Welding Services Championship 360 Sprint Cars. We've had so much action on track, I've barely mentioned our sponsors at all, so I'll quickly smash some out. Toyo Sim, Racecraft, Dragon RC, Warren and Brown Tools. Those are our main ones. Who have I missed? Anybody? No, I said Racecraft. I think that's everybody. You know, and if I have missed anybody, I do apologize, but without the support of our sponsors making leagues like this happen, it just doesn't work. Oh, promo department safety car. How can I forget the safety car? You know, without the help of all those sponsors, these leagues, you know, really struggle to run. Massive shout out to all our drivers. They've put on quite a show tonight. Massive shout out to who was it? Scotty and Tyson and Race Control tonight, I believe. To Toddy and the production. I've been Brendan. It's been a pleasure to have you along with us for the ride, and we'll see you again next week.
Much love, legends. Keep safe.